guys, here we go. Another week of the Monday Huddle. We are going to share tips, tricks, ideas to help you build on your Monday and help you knock it out the park. So Derek, talk to us. What are you thinking?
You know, normally we do a quote and we pull it from, world past leaders and pop culture and all that cool stuff. But today, G and I decided to just do a check-in with each other.
Yeah.
Right? We go through Mondays, we go through struggles, and our goal is to never sit up here and act like we have it all together, but just kind of sharing some things that we found that works for us, that works for others along the way. So today it's just going to be a check-in.
That's right. Check-in, and those are good. So often when I do a check-in with like my team, I always ask this question when I do this check-in.
Okay,
Here's
here we
the
go.
question. If your heart could speak, would it say the same thing that's coming out of your mouth?
Ooh. So if I'm speaking from the heart, because oftentimes we don't speak from the heart, right? It's like we feel something, we want to say it, but then our brain jumps in the way and it's like, wait, before you say it, before that comes out, let me put my hands on it. It's almost like before I send out an email and my wife is on it, she wants to review the email to make sure that it represents us both well. And so I think sometimes our brains kind of catch our hearts. So our hearts want to say one thing and our brains catch it and they're like, wait, okay, now you can say it. So what comes out isn't usually what we feel, like transparently, not filtered. And so to answer your question, I went around the corner to get next door.
Up the hill.
What would my heart say the same thing as my mouth? Like, would it come? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I would say no. I would say I feel a certain way, but I think based on how I want people to see me, or my fear of being misunderstood, or being ungrateful, or being too transparent, I think I would probably chop it up and present it in a very very polished way.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is that we all want to seem polished.
We do.
With good reason. Because you can't be transparent with everybody.
Not with everybody.
No.
I don't even know half y'all on YouTube.
And we're bearing our hearts.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So I think that knowing who the audience is and who is actually asking that question, right? Because you're right. When you're a leader, no one wants to see you as a weak leader. And so you give a strong answer to any question that's being asked. And for them to see weakness, it almost gives them an indication, well, I can't follow this person because they're weak. And so how important is it to you for people around you to see you as this authoritative figure?
I would say not that important. I know there's an element of wanting to be approachable and personable. And so I think we give people access, limited access, maybe an amount of access so that we can build relationship and build trust and credibility and rapport and things like that. But the people around me, I think my desire for them to see me as someone that has it all together, I think it's very low. I don't need y'all to see me that way. Hopefully I've proven myself time and time again that I can be trusted and that I got at least some of my stuff together and you know where you can trust me and where you can't trust me. And so I think the people around me, they know me well enough to know that I can be something without having this huge standard that I'm trying to meet, or I want them to see me in that light. Yeah. So I'm probably pretty low key in that way.
Yeah.
But I also don't have when I think of people around me, that's different than when I think of a client, right? And so when I go to a client, I think they bring me out because I have a very unique perspective, or I'm a subject matter expert, or an aficionado, or somebody that spent some time with a certain topic. And so I don't bear my heart when I go to them because they need to be able to see me in a light that is trusted, credible, and expert. Someone that is speaking knowledgeably. And so that's different than people that I'm around all the time.
Yeah.
What about you?
I've had to grow into not being so concerned what people thought about in regards to Iamgrivera.
Yeah.
And here's transparently speaking. Hey. I think that it has a self-esteem issue attached to it, right? Okay. And so I think that that when you want people to just value you and see you, and
Absolutely.
you have to be this authoritative. It's just kind of like a peacock, right? A peacock is colorful and beautiful, and then it gets to a place where it feels in danger, and all of a sudden it's like fans itself out to make itself look bigger. And I think that as I've gotten older, I've come to a place of realizing I don't have to flare up, right? I could just be who I am and allow people to receive me in that way, and allow for my personality to speak for itself and love on people at the same time. And so I think that does give a unique perspective, and it opens doors. That I knew this one leader who, he was a phenomenal leader, had a lot of followers on social media, but people would not invite him to come and speak because he was so edgy on social media that it was good for that audience, but they were like, man, if I bring him to my church, it's not going to be good, right?
You know, and when you talk about like the self-esteem and this confidence component, and you're talking about the older that you get, the more you kind of settle in not really worrying about or putting as much investment in what people think about you. There's something that I've been kind of going through as well when I think about the internal affirmation or the confirmation or the validation of who I am and what I do. What I've had to do is make sure that my voice is the biggest voice in my head and my heart. And I say that excluding my faith. Of course, I'm a believer and I want that voice to be big. But what I found over time is that my friends' voices were big, and my wife's voice was big, and my kids' voices were big, and my clients' voices were big. And if I got to a point where I couldn't hear those voices, then I didn't have anything to stand on because my voice was so small. And so I think this is why it's so important to have a certain level of awareness, a certain level of self-esteem, and a certain level of confidence, because when those voices are gone and when there's nobody cheering you on, you still have your voice telling you that you're big, you're confident, you're true, or whatever those affirmations are internally. My voice has to be the biggest voice in this room.
That's right. That's so good. And I think I was having a talk with a couple, and that was one of the statements. It was just kind of like, man, I want her voice, or I need her affirmations, and I need her love, and I need for, and it just got to a point where that need was so much that when he didn't have it, it really crumbled him. And it was just that. The confirmation that you're speaking on now is what I told him. I said, whenever you can believe in yourself first, and whenever you could be a pillar for yourself, those times where you're not receiving it from the outside, you're healed enough when you're receiving it internally for yourself.
Which is so big. Because I think like we grow up and one of the things that my daughter taught, or my mom, my wife taught my daughter was that no matter what people say about you, you have to still like yourself.
That's right.
And so sometimes when my daughter would get in trouble and she would not clean her room or something would happen, she would be crying, sobbing. And she would put her chin up and look us in the face, and she'd be like, "I still like myself."
Really?
Yeah, she was just, awesome. She would like, it was almost like she was trying to make sure that no matter what punishment we gave her, she wanted us to know that she still liked herself. So and I think that's so good. Like when we think about the voices that we hear, that we put so much stock in, right? I know you and I, we're speakers, we're trainers, we stand in front of audiences, and part of us making a living and being invited out again and again is for people to say that we did a good job, or for people to enjoy what we do. And I think there's a part where what they say matches what our intent is, and that's absolutely good. But one of the things that I've had to learn is that even if I say I did well and I did good, and that client did not approve or did not think the same thing, I got to stand firm on what my intent was, what my skill set is. And I think sometimes people are pulled, or they allow others to sway what they think of themselves. They give them agency and power and authority and weight to pull me out of my confidence into what they think of me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So as you're saying that, I'm thinking about a time where one of my boys gets into a fight, right? And he is in so much trouble. You know what I'm saying? He's getting suspended. He gets home. Mom is truly disappointed. And when everybody turns their back because he won, I'm like giving him a pat.
Did you win though?
So as you're saying that, I don't know why I'm getting that image, in that, you know what I mean? Like you've done your best. You gave it your all. You sacrificed. You brought it.
Yeah.
When other people around don't approve of it, it's just kind of like you still like high-fiving yourself. Like, you know what? You did that thing. And so it may not have been what they wanted, but you did exactly what you came to do and what you were ready to do and prepared to do.
Absolutely.
And I think that self-talk is so important. Do you talk to yourself?
I do all the time.
Yeah.
And my positive self-talk is getting better. I grew up to where like the negative talk got you to do positive things, right? And so like if I was trying to like hit a golf ball, my guys with me would be like, "Hey man, you should hit that with your purse." And so next time it made me like hit it harder or like focus harder. Or, like they say growing up, we say you did something like a girl, it was to motivate you to do something harder or better or improve. And so what I grew up with is this reverse positive, negative self-talk to where if I talk negative to myself or call myself names or degraded myself, it was to encourage me to do more, to do better, to improve. With a voice in my head now, I'm speaking from the future. And so I'm trying to pull myself into a version of myself that I really want to be instead of running from something else. We talked about that a while back. Yeah. Running from something is a lot different than running towards something. Right. And that's kind of the mindset that I'm trying to take when I'm speaking to myself.
Yeah. So today I did something different. I went and spoke at a university.
Okay.
And a lot of times you feel the pressure of it. You're prepared, all of that, but you still feel like, man, here we go.
Absolutely.
So I did something different that I normally don't do. I literally stood in front of the mirror and I spoke to myself. And I said, G, everything that's on the inside of you, these young people need.
Ooh.
And so when you go out there, know that you're pouring yourself out and you're preparing them. They need what's on the inside of you. Jeez. And so, G, you're feeling this pressure of going out there and speaking, but this is not about speaking. It's about pouring yourself out. Man.
Did that work?
Oh, bro, it did. Because I got over there and it wasn't about me speaking and presenting. It was about me pouring myself out.
Yeah.
And I was able to go over there. It's Christian University. So I was able to go over there. I was able to just kind of worship. I didn't have the pressure of what I was going to say, how I was going to open up. I knew all of that. I didn't have to keep reciting it in my mind.
Yeah.
All I knew is that there was something on the inside of me. I've done this before. It's not new. I'm not doing anything new. All I'm doing is pouring myself out for these young people to grab a hold onto something. And so afterwards, a young man came up to me. Several did, and we kind of had some dialogue, but there was one kid from New York. He said, man, as you started speaking, I was on my phone, and something forced me to put my phone down because I needed to hear what you were saying.
Wow.
Man, you want to talk about taking it back to that point in the mirror? I was like, that's what it was all about.
So when you look in the mirror, so I wrote, I have a book out, and I talk about mirror time. And I talk about people who don't like to look in the mirror because they don't like what they see. And I talk about people who they'll look in the mirror and they, are just using it to get dressed, to put makeup on. But I talked about people that need to spend time in the mirror because oftentimes I don't know that we see ourselves, but we don't like literally see ourselves. And I think there's something powerful about mirror time. Like if we can get matter of fact, people, they spend so much time in the mirror that they have like little notes and things that they write in affirmations. But I think mirror time is really, really important. And I haven't spent nearly as much time in the mirror that I probably should as getting dressed, right, or looking at myself. But it's actually the mirror time is like the encouragement of speaking and encouraging and bringing life and affirming and all those things that we need daily that I think we rely on other people to do. Yeah. So you just reminded me, man, I need to get back in the mirror, bro.
Yeah. That mirror, a lot of times people run from the mirror and they're like, I got this going on and that. I look at the mirror now and I'm reminded of my age. And I told my wife, I'm like, I don't understand how only this is white. Like what happened to the rest of it,
Yeah.
And so it just, I'm constantly in the mirror, unfortunately. Vanity.
I mean, he look good, don't he? Look at him. He's sharp.
I'm putting castor oil on my eyes, but it's good to not just look in the mirror because you're trying to fix yourself.
Yeah.
But being able to look in the mirror and talk to yourself.
We're talking about this internal voice, and I know that a few minutes ago I said that I've been trying to shrink the voice of others. But gee, why is it important for you to have people around you? Not that their voice is bigger than yours, but that they have the access in order to speak life, to correct, to readjust, to encourage. Why is it important to have people like that around us?
We have blind spots.
Absolutely.
So there are moments and times where we think we did good and we didn't. And we need the right people around us to be like, no, you missed that.
That's true.
You didn't say this right. Or people to say, man, you did an amazing job. Man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You need people around you. Now, one of the things that I said while I was at the school is just kind of like, if I didn't have not one more person around me other than myself and God, that's good enough. That's one perspective. But we were created to have relationship.
Absolutely.
Right? And so when you have the right people around you with the right intentions and they're going to receive from you like you will receive from them, I think there's beauty in that. I think that there's strength in that we can hold each other up and know that you're not by yourself. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're by yourself.
Yeah. G and I, we go to the same church. And G's actually talking about this last month, talking about surrounding yourself with people and who's on your team and who's on your squad. And one of the things that we talked about this past week or so was how it's not good for us to be alone. And so as much as big as your voice can be and as confident as you can be, and your voice is the only voice and it's the biggest voice, sometimes we can lie to ourselves. And we can tell ourselves lies and we tell things that aren't true. On either way, right? Either we are ugly or we're the most beautiful person in the world. Like, I think sometimes that voice can get so big that it becomes a silo or it becomes untruth or it becomes a very skewed perspective. And so one of the things that we talked about of how it is good for us to be in community and it is not good for us to be alone. So even though we're saying that your voice should be big and you should have that confidence and the self-awareness and be able to speak life into yourself, it's also good to have other people that can round out that perspective. I'm not saying let their voice be bigger than your voice, but I'm saying it's important to have other people around that can speak to your life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having the confidence to take the wrong people out of the equation.
Ooh, that's
because
good.
I think that sometimes we become so loyal to the dysfunction of people around us and we've been so used to the negative motivation that we don't know the positive side. Like you mentioned a minute ago, we're so used to the negative motivation that we don't know how to deal with when somebody's just kind of like, hey, good job, Derek. Next time go ahead and, slice it into other. Like there's a Colombian leader in town. And, we have a good relationship. He looks after my leadership over him and the things that he's doing. And he is so kind that I'm like, what does he want?
He's just, you're too nice. What's going on?
But he's just kind of like so meek and so humble that it almost feels weird. And so we got to get to a place of saying, you know what, I want more people like that. The people that are for you, they're not trying to knock you down. I was so competitive when I was younger. And, my wife, she didn't stand a chance at anything we did. I'm like knocking her down. I'm beating her in bowling. It doesn't matter what we're doing. I'm winning. And I realized that when you're around the people that you care for and you love, it's not a competition. You're not trying to win. You're trying to help them win.
Ooh, that's good.
And so I think that when you have people around you, like, Derek, I want you to win. I want you to sell a bunch of those books. Tell them what the name of that book is because we want to promote it so that you can have more mirror time. There's something that was in him that he's pouring out into you. But having people around you, not so that you can win, but so that you can help them win, and they're helping you win, and you guys are able to celebrate each other.
I love that. So when we're thinking about, Monday motivation, we're not trying to have like this toxic positivity. We're not just trying to have these blinders on and everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be great. We really want to balance it out with the sobering perspective in that we're on here talking, but we also struggle too with our voice and having people around us and trust and transparency and what do they think of us and what do we think of ourselves, even in this attempt to like get in this Monday huddle and then go already break and dominate the week. We struggle and we have some ups and downs too. And so we wanted to take this time, just kind of check in with each other, check in with you, kind of let you all know what's in our minds and our hearts and kind of what's going on here. I know that I got to get back in the mirror and be transparent with myself and increase my voice and put some blinders and some blinkers on other people's voices that have been big in my life. I got to do some gardening and pull out some weeds and some toxic voices and all the good stuff. Because if I want my day to be great, I got to put the work in. If my day is going to be great, my week is going to be great, my month is going to be great, and so forth.
That's right. That's right. So listen, this is the Monday Huddle check-in this week. Make sure that you do a check-in with yourself. Who are the people around you? Is your heart and mouth matching what they're saying?
Ooh.
And are you desiring to be your best? That requires, like Derek just said, work from you. Are you willing to put in the work? Listen, have a great week, guys.
Peace.